Hi, I'm Lisa Marie and welcome to my channel, Living My Best Life with Lisa Marie.
Today's video is 25 thrift flips. I cannot wait to show you. And now,
let's get crafting.
This first thrift flip is this really cool little cork holder that I found at the Goodwill. Gosh, it was last spring, I think. I spray painted it with Rust-Oleum's 2-in-1 paint and primer in the semi-gloss, and I did about 3 or 4 coats, just light ones to build up. And then I've got these little LED wire lights from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use those and these gorgeous flowers from the Dollar Tree that I've had for quite a while. And I'm going to use my little tin snips, which are in my Amazon store linked below, to go ahead and cut all the little flower stems off because I want to put them inside this cork holder. I'm going to turn it into a really pretty floral arrangement with lights, almost to look like a birdcage kind of, but not a birdcage. Does that make sense? This DIY is almost too easy. After I painted it, I'm literally just arranging the flowers inside. I'm not gluing them down so I can change them out seasonally if I want. And then I'm gonna put the light inside and literally, that's it. It's already got a hanger on the back to hang it up. And just imagine I could change out those florals or put birds in there, whatever it is. Fake birds, not real birds, obviously. And just hang it up. It's so cute. I absolutely love it. And honestly, if you can ever find one of these, you could even use like one of the wreath forms from Dollar Tree, the ones like the football shape or the basket shape hanging planter. You could turn a lot of things into this. I know it's hard to find the exact items at thrift stores, but just use your imagination and take inspiration from this. And that's kind of what I did when I found it. I didn't know I was going to be able to find something like this, but I'm loving how it turns out. And I've already got it up in my house. I'm super excited. I've always wanted something like this. You guys will have to let me know what you think in the comments, and let me know if it's something you would maybe want to try, if you could find something that would work. And the last thing I'm going to do is just pull some of the flower petals through the cage and pull some of the leaves through so it looks like it's kind of overgrown. And I just love it. I didn't want them just stuffed and squished inside there. So to me, this really makes it look cute, like when they start to stick out a little bit. And that's it. Literally, this one is done. And for this DIY, I had this old basket, and it wasn't cute. It was so basic. And I easily could have donated this or just tossed it, to be honest with you. So I decided, okay, I'm going to spruce it up. I'm going to use some of my rose gold metallic paint from Folklore. And then I'm also going to use a paint sample that I got at Lowe's for the second color. And I honestly don't know what the name is. It's a little bit of a cream color. And I thought I'm going to do all of the outside edges, because it's kind of a different basket weave for those. And then also the center and the bottom I'm going to do in the rose gold, and I'm going to do the rest in the cream. And I got to tell you, this basket has really come to life, and it's so pretty now. It could be boho, it could be modern farmhouse, but I really like it, and now I'm going to use it. So it has been saved. You'll have to let me know if you've ever tried to salvage a little basket like this. It doesn't have handles. It's not, fancy basket weave or anything like that. But adding that color just changed it. So it's got a whole new life now, and I'm happy with it. And I hope you guys like it too. It's amazing what just a little bit of paint can do to really change the look and feel of something. And sometimes before you get rid of something, you just want to kind of look at it and think about it. Could I maybe do something to the color, and change the way it looks and feels? And for me, this really, I'm so glad I didn't throw it away or donate it, because I can honestly say I love this now. Please let me know what you thought about all these Trash to Treasure DIYs in the comments. I am looking forward to reading what you have to say. I found this beautiful red wooden bowl at the Goodwill for $3, and after I removed the tags, which I will say were a little difficult to get off and I had to do some sanding as well, I'm going to go ahead and paint this and turn it into a watermelon bowl. So the inside will be the part you eat, and then the outside of the bowl is going to be the rind. And this is the easiest DIY. It turns out so cute. And I'm going to do, the different rind colors, and I'm going to do the crimson red for the watermelon part. And so the colors are fern and sage on the green and the lighter color. And then I'm going to do the little seeds with the black permanent marker. And then I'm going to cover this with dishwasher safe Mod Podge so I can use this for serving food or anything I want like that. And it is so, so cute when it's all done, and so easy, you guys. I am absolutely in love with this little piece. I hope you guys like it. I think it just turned out great. I found this pewter Cottle Pot at the thrift store for only $3. It is so cool, and I'm going to turn this into a patriotic rustic DIY. First, I'm going to clean it with some rubbing alcohol, and then I'm going to take my antique wax by Waverly, and I'm going to put that on the wooden handle. I'm going to cover the whole thing real well, and then I'm going to wipe off the excess with a paper towel. I was trying to bring the bottom of this up closer to the camera so you could see what it says, but I do think it actually might be an antique for real. It's super cool. I had to look up online and see what it was. I didn't even know what it was. I think they used to use it for butter and little sauces and things like that. Anyway, I'm going to take another one of those printables from Heidi Sonboul, and I'm going to take a paint lid, and I'm just going to cut the circle from the lid so that I have a small circle. I'm going to put some water on it because I want to make it more pliable to put on this kind of rounded Cottle Pot. And then of course that fades it a little, which is great, and I'm wiping it off with a paper towel. Now I'm going to get my decoupage out, and I'm going to put that right on the surface of the Cottle Pot, and then I will put my little round printable on there, and I'm just going to kind of smush it down with my fingers and then use some more decoupage over the top and wipe off the excess around the edges because I really don't want it all over the pot. I'm going to use my heat tool to try to dry it a little faster. And by the way, all of the tools I use are in my Amazon store linked below. Next, I'm going to take my antique wax by Waverly, and I'm just going to start dry brushing all over the outside of the Cottle Pot as well as the inside of the Cottle Pot. I want this to look super old and worn, and then I'm going to take a baby wipe and clean up the printable area a little bit because I have something I want to add to that, and I want you to be able to see it. And if I leave it super dark, you won't be able to see it. But this gives me control over how much distressing I really can do. And if you're wondering about that brush, that is literally a makeup brush that I got at Dollar Tree, and it's super soft, and so when you go over it with the dry brushing, it comes out just perfect. Next, I'm going to take a red and a white carnation from the Dollar Tree. They were on a pick, and I'm going to use that same brush, and I'm going to kind of bunch up the flower, and I'm going to distress it with the Waverly Antique Wax. And I want those flowers to look like they're old too. Once I have both flowers and the leaves distressed, I'll cut them down and put them on the inside of the little pot. A YouTube friend of mine, her name is Susan from Miss Southern Belle, sent me this package of stickers along with some other fun things. I will leave her channel link in the description. And they look kind of antique, and there were numbers on this bingo card on them. So I found the numbers 1776, and I had to cut them out individually, and they're rub-on transfers. And I'm going to put them on the front of this printable, kind of sloppy, and it's just going to say 1776, and of course that's the year our country was founded. And there you go. Very rustic, very fun, super easy DIY. Once all four of the numbers are on, I'm going to cover them with the Mod Podge so that they don't go anywhere. I love the way this one turned out, and I really hope you guys like it too. Definitely let me know down in the comments. I found this little basket at the Goodwill. It's actually in my Goodwill haul video, which I will put up in the cards and link below. I do not like the color of that kind of like wood/basket stuff on the side there. So I am using my plaster color paint by Waverly, and I'm going to go ahead and paint the outside of that. Now I don't really want to go in and paint the inside because I think that's going to be a big mess. So I've come up with another solution to deal with that. I'm using my burlap wide ribbon that I got at Walmart, and I want to just cover kind of the center of the outside, and I'm going to do some folds in order to create that. So first I've cut the right size that would go all the way around, and now I'm going to fold one end in and hot glue it, and then the other end in and hot glue it, and again creating some texture and interest. And so right now I'm just gluing those pieces over each other. Now that I've got the burlap the way I want it, I'm going to wrap it around the middle of this basket and then hot glue it to the basket itself. I decided to use some white coffee filters, just kind of hot gluing them around the top edge of the inside of the basket to hide that other color of the back side of the basket. And it just kind of lightens the whole thing up, and it was super inexpensive to do this, and it's an easy solution, and I can pull it out anytime if I want to change my mind. I took a little pick of lavender and I cut some pieces. I'm going to hot glue them together after I trim the edges, and I'm just going to create a little floral kind of bouquet. I'm going to wrap some nautical rope around the bottom and attach it right where that seam is of the burlap, so that will hide it, and it'll also give it a little bit of extra decor. And I just love lavender, it's my favorite. I'm so excited how this one turned out. I really like it. It's just so simple, and I can add other florals inside if I want to. I hope my channel is a fun place where you can come and be inspired to create something. I do all different decor styles. There's something here for everyone. If you like what you see, be sure to hit the like button. That really helps my channel grow, and I appreciate it. I had found this little card carrier thing at the Goodwill a while back at my Goodwill haul. I'll link that video. And I thought, what am I going to do with this thing? So I finally came up with an idea. I had these super colorful napkins that I got at the Dollar Tree, so I removed the ply, so I was left with just the very top one. And I decided I would Mod Podge it to the inside and very bottom of this card holder. And it's not easy to do, oh my gosh, because you've got to reach inside. But I cut out the pieces, measured them, and then I just got everything full of Mod Podge on the inside, and I reached my hand in there and attached it the best I could. And then after it was wet, it just kind of peeled off the top, so that wasn't too bad. And then I did add some pieces to the very bottom after I took off those little, I guess, foam cushion things. And, you know, from Hallmark, this thing would have been expensive, and I got it for, I think, $5. And there you see I've attached the napkins to the bottom, and now I'm just getting rid of all the little edges so that I can do some painting on the actual tin. I think it's like a tin or a metal that this is made out of. And I use my Arteza paints in the green and the blue, and I blended them together to create this gorgeous turquoise color that I thought was a bright color but also fit fall. Now I wanted to give it a little bit of a weathered look, so I used the Waverly white chalk paint, just dry brushed over the top, and that still wasn't enough for me, so I used some rose gold paint from Folklore to create kind of a patina look, and then I was really happy with it. Definitely looked weathered, but it also looked very expensive, very high-end, and I added some fall flowers, and you can just see the napkin that I Mod Podged in there, or decoupaged in there, peeking through, and I love this piece. Oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. The color is so vibrant, and it just brings out a really cheery kind of a fall feeling, not just a neutral color feeling, and I like that. For this wood DIY, I got this little sign from the Goodwill, and although it's super cute, I wanted to do something different to it, so I removed the twine and the clothespins on the front, and off camera I took my sander and I sanded down the front so I could get rid of the words that were on there. And now I'm going to take my Antique Wax by Waverly and I'm going to go ahead and restain it. I did like the dark stain, I just didn't want the words that were there. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on all over, and then I'm going to wipe off the excess with a paper towel. I'm going to take my Arteza paint marker in white, and I'm going to start drawing a dandelion that's already dried out. You'll see what I mean here in a second. And I'm then putting little things on the edges. I'm just kind of embellishing it a little bit because I just want this to be super, super cute. I'm then going to freehand the words wish and dream, and I'm going to try to make it look like a typewriter font. This is freehand, so doing the best I can. Actually, I think it turned out really good. And I'm going to go over everything again with my marker until it's a little bit brighter of a white. These markers, sometimes you have to keep pumping them to make sure that they stay nice and fresh, but it's worth it because it comes out so, so cute. And I'm continuing to make my little dandelion by adding some more lines and little dots on the edges. I'm also going to make a little circle in the center, and then I'm going to continue making this look brighter and whiter as I go. I got this really super cute gold and white twine at Target of all places, and I'm going to use that to go back through those holes and thread them through. I'm going to put a little tape on the end so I can thread it through easier. I'm going to tie a knot in the back on the first piece, and then I'm going to just go back and forth just the way it was originally, but using this really cute twine. Once I have it all threaded, I'm going to tie a knot in the back and put a little hot glue to make sure that it's nice and secure. Then I'm going to take a gold Arteza paint marker and I'm just going to embellish it a little bit, like on those little dots on the end, and then I'm going to add the 3 dots after the word dream and wish also in the gold. The clothespins that came with this were like with a glitter bronze, and I wanted them to be more gold to match. So I'm using that same Arteza paint marker in gold, and I'm just going to go over all the edges of those little clothespins, and I'm going to put them right back on there, and they're so cute. I think it would be super cute to write out your wishes and dreams and then put them on the clothespins and have them in front of you to remind you what you want to accomplish. Then I'm going to use a piece from a mop head. It's like a 3-strand cord, and I'm going to take it down to 1. And I'm going to hot glue it over the widest parts of the little dandelion to give it that texture. I just love texture, and this kind of brings it to life. To cover that very center piece, I'm going to kind of wrap a piece of this mop head around itself in a circle until it's the right size, and then I'm going to hot glue it right to the center. You guys, I'm loving this one. You have to tell me what you think. I've got this beautiful wooden cross, and it's etched in the front, and it just says be a living sacrifice, and I think it's beautiful as it is, but I did want to do something different to it. So I cleaned it up with a little bit of rubbing alcohol because I noticed that it was super dusty, and then I removed the little hanger in the back, and I can put that back later. In the meantime, I'm going to actually start pulling out supplies. This is what I do when I don't know what I want to do with something. I just pull out everything that I could possibly want to use, and then I narrow it down as I go, and I just kind of go from there. I'm going to take my white primer in the Kills brand, and I'm going to cover this entire front and the sides, not the back, of this cross because that stain isn't really my favorite look, so I wanted to get rid of it, and then I could kind of do anything I want after that. So this kind of gives it a nice neutral base, and I'm not doing a full coat because I'm going to put paper and different things on it, as you will see here in just a minute. I'm going to use my heat tool to dry this, which makes it go 3 times as fast, and that's in my Amazon store as well. Great tool. And then I've got a bunch of scrapbook paper. So this is the first one. It's a very heavy cardstock, and I'm going to use it. I'm going to trace out just for that little top square and then the piece that continues down, but not the bar that goes across the cross. So I'm just going to use my square and connect the lines that I drew, and then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut it out. I have recently been very intrigued by paper crafting and mixed media, and a friend of mine, Linda, who has a wonderful channel which is called Faith Chick 777's DIY by Design. I'll have a link in my description box so you can check her out. She does the most beautiful things I have ever seen, and it just makes me want to use paper. So I've been experimenting, and this is going to be one of those projects. I'm going to take the 2 pieces that I cut out, and I'm going to use my decoupage to adhere the scrapbook paper to the cross. And you don't have to put the top coat on because it's just so thick, it's not necessary. And I did put a generous amount on to begin with. And I'm loving the way it's looking already, and I've just barely started. And then I have another piece of scrapbook paper that I'm going to cut out that I'm going to place on the horizontal bar of the cross, except for the very center, which I'm going to do something different there. I have a little piece that came off of a Dollar Tree sign that I had already put some scrapbook paper on, but I didn't end up using it. And so I'm going to use that one in this project. And then I've also got this little frame that I saved from a Christmas ornament. I'm going to cut off the excess with my little utility knife, and then I'm going to sand it down and get rid of any rough edges because I did rip fabric off of it at the time when I took it apart. And once that's done, I'm going to take my antique wax stain by Waverly, and I'm actually going to go around the entire front of it, the inside edge and the outside edge, and I'm going to stain it. And once I apply that, I will wipe some off with a towel when I'm done because I don't want it too dark. I just want it to look like it's stained. going to hot glue that other little piece that I had covered in scrapbook paper right to the center. And then I'm going to take another piece of scrapbook paper that has scripture on it, and I'm going to use that little frame to figure out how big it needs to be. And what I'm cutting out is actually the Lord's Prayer, which is in the bigger font in the center of what I'm cutting out. And I just love that so much. Oh my gosh, the perfect prayer on the perfect cross. It just doesn't get any better than that. I'm going to use just a teeny bit of hot glue and attach it to that frame. And then I will attach that right over that centerpiece on the cross itself. And I just think it's so cool. And the only thing, it's a little crooked, but let's pretend that nobody else notices that and I can live with it. So that's how that's going to go. And then I've got these two little cutouts of the word inspire and the word thankful. Inspire was sent to me by a YouTube friend from Dollar Tree, and Thankful was from the Target dollar spot back in the fall. I had already painted the Thankful in my metallic silver by Folklore, so I'm now doing that with the Inspire because I just really think it pops when it's got that silver right on there. And then I'm going to go around the edges with a little Sharpie marker. Can't get into the little teeny spots, but the parts you can see for the most part will have the black. I'm going to do that to both the Thankful and the Inspire. Then I'm going to take a little bit more scrapbook paper, and this one just has a pretty little design and it says Family Forever on it, and I'm going to use that and cut a piece to put across the bar at the top, and then I will set the word thankful on it with hot glue, and I will do the same thing down below with the Inspire word, and I'm going to attach them also with the Mod Podge. Tip. If you're using hot glue on something that's really small like this that has a lot of gaps, don't ever lift up your hot glue gun. Just keep it touching the surface, and that way you won't get the glue webs. I decided to use some sheet music scrapbook paper for the word inspire, and I thought that was really cool. It's almost like, you know, I'm inspired to worship, and so that's what my thinking was behind that. I took my X-Acto knife and I'm just trimming off any little excess scrapbook paper that hung over the edge. And then I am going to sand all around every edge of this and just make sure that it's all flush. And that gives it a little bit of an antique kind of a look, which I really like. And then I'm going to use the Antique Wax by Waverly and rub around the edges. So now I have some good edges to rub that on. And then I'm going to actually distress more than that. I'm going to go around all the white sides and make it look like a lighter wood. And then I'm going to distress over the top. And if I get too much on there, I just take a wet baby wipe and wipe it away, and that way I have control over. As long as you do it right away while it's still wet, that will work. And I really like the antique look this is giving it. It's just exactly what I wanted it to look like. And since I didn't like the original stain in the first place, I took the Antique Wax and I went over the back side because I do like to finish my projects, and I think this made it look a little bit nicer, at least in my opinion. And then I can put the hanger back on. Guys, I love this one. I hope you really like it. Please let me know what you think in the comments. For this DIY, I used another thrifted piece from the Goodwill. It's just this little sign. It was $3, and it's made out of like tin, and then it's got a little bottle in that holder. I'm also going to use some lace and a couple of napkins that I got from Home Goods and Dollar Tree. I'm going to clean this with some rubbing alcohol to make sure that it's nice and smooth. And I'm just going to remove the plies and then just cut out little elements from each of these napkins. So I'm going to get a bird and a couple of flowers, and I am going to Mod Podge them directly onto the bottle. I just want to give it a little more of an interesting, kind of a shabby chic look, of course. Oftentimes when we Mod Podge, we'll put the entire napkin or the entire tissue paper or scrapbook paper, but I think it's okay to take little elements and mix them in and just put them on, especially if you're going for a look like this. I think it's just really fun to play around and try different things. Don't be afraid to try new things. You have nothing to lose. I've got that wider piece of lace, and what I'm going to do is cut it down to size, and I'm just going to make it a little piece that you stick in behind the bottle when you put the bottle back in, just to add a little of that lacy feel to it and that feminine touch. And I think it's cute. I mean, this really, I didn't have to sew, I just hot glued it down. This really could not be any easier, and this is, something if you just want to start trying shabby chic crafting, I think this would be an awesome piece. I'm going to take a little bit of this really pretty yarn that I got at Walmart, and I'm just going to tie it around the neck of the bottle, around the threads, and make a cute little bow. I just really wanted to add just that extra little touch, and I put the florals in from the Dollar Tree right into the bottle. Again, super simple, you guys. This is just so basic and easy. And I would say, even if you found a piece that looked different than this, anything that you could put the flowers in or that you could Mod Podge on, it would work. This was so fun. I really hope you guys liked it. On a recent trip to our local Goodwill, I got this metal flower for $4, and it's really cute just the way it is. I love the colors, but I wanted to do something a little more to it. So I'm going to start off with my Waverly pink called Ocean. It's the deepest blue that I have, and I'm going to start doing the innermost part of each petal, but on the middle pieces I'm going to do the whole thing because they're so teeny tiny. And you'll see here, I'm going to go real fast so I won't bore you, although this is kind of fun painting to watch, at least for me anyway. But you'll notice I'm doing the inner part of each petal going all the way around till I reach those outer petals. Then I'm going to grab some more chalk paint in the color Peacock. Gosh, I love this color so much. It's gorgeous. And I'm going to start where I left off and push out more on each petal, like kind of going halfway almost. And I'm not trying to be perfect. It's a little messy because it's really kind of a blending technique that I'm trying to do here. And I think this is so fun because I'm loving these colors together. They're so vibrant and bright. And so you can do this two ways. And you'll see as we move on where you could stop if you liked it one way and I went on because I like it a different way. Now I'm going to take Agave, which is one of my favorite colors that Waverly has, and I'm going to put that all the way out to the edge of each petal, all the way around every single one of them. Now you can make your flower any color combination you want. I just tried to use kind of the blues to give it that peacock look, but this would be gorgeous with yellows and oranges and reds, or any other combination. You could do whatever you like, whatever fits your yard area, or just the colors that you prefer. I love vibrant colors in the summer outside. It makes me happy. So that's what I like to see when I'm outside. As I mentioned earlier, once I finished these petals and these colors, you could literally stop right here and it would be super bright and vibrant. Now I wanted to give it a little bit of sparkle, just a little, more. So now I'm going to go back to the ocean color and I'm going to dry brush it all over. That blends everything perfectly. It's very subtle and it just ties it together. And I'm going to take the metallic gold from Folk Art and I'm going to take that and I'm going to dry brush around the edges of each of the flower petals. I love the plaid products. They do the Waverly and the Folklore, and I'm an ambassador for them, so I'll put some links down in the description box below. And when I get in towards the smaller petals, I realize it's going to bleed everywhere. So I'm going to get out one of my Arteza paint markers in the color gold so I can be very specific on the edges of the smaller flowers, and I love the way it looks. I think I even go all the way to the ends with it. Imagine how that's going to pick up the sunlight. It's almost iridescent. It's going to look so beautiful. I mean, it could look great inside or outside. And I did go out to the outer petals. It just defines it so well. And then the dry brushing I did just kind of extends from it. It's just the perfect combination. I am loving the way this looks right now, but I felt like I needed to give it a teeny bit more depth. So I'm going to, first of all, take the ocean blue and get those outer wire petals and just give them, instead of that plain green that it was, I just painted them in blue. And now I'm going to take my ink, which is black from Waverly, and I'm going to put it just very lightly all over like a dry brush coming from the center of each petal. Again, adding just a little bit of dimension as if there were shadows in there because they're kind of folded up a little bit. And I love it. And I'm going to do the same thing to the outside. I'm just going to kind of touch it up with the black around the edges. And again, give it that iron look, which it's metal, but I wanted it to look almost like iron. And I love it. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and I hope you guys like it. For this DIY, I found this cute little piece at the Goodwill for $2. And I know it's already got a watermelon on it, but I'm actually going to paint the whole thing. And because I want the colors to be a little bit more bright and vibrant. These are a little bit more muted. And it's super cute just the way it is, but of course I want to change it. So I'm going to use my Waverly chalk paint. I'm going to be using 3 colors. I'm going to use Fern, Crimson, and then I'm also going to use a folk art paint called Sage. So those are the colors I'm going to be using to create a watermelon look. And this is going to be the cutest little watermelon wall hanging. Now you see that little bunny on there? Well, I'm going to use my jigsaw. It'll be the first time I'm ever using it. I'm a little nervous and I'm going to actually do it on camera. So you'll see just how new I am at doing this, but you've got to start somewhere, right? And I've been dying to use it, and I don't want the bunny on there. I want it to look a little different. You'll see when I get there. But right now I'm just coloring the rind and then that middle layer, that's kind of that lighter color. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to paint the crimson for the red part of the watermelon. And I know a lot of people do pink. I wish every time I open a watermelon it would be this kind of red. So that's why I make my watermelons red, because to me that's the most appetizing. A pink watermelon is not quite as ripe in my mind, so that's why I do it. Now, here is my saw. So you guys, I'm using this stick so that I don't cut my table. And I'm just holding it over the top, and I'm just kind of aiming for those little edges. What I'm trying to do is make it look like this watermelon has had several bites taken out of it. Now, I'm not experienced enough to make them look like real bites, but I'm doing the best I can, and I'm happy with it. So now I'm going to, sand off those rough edges and clean it up with my little ladybug vacuum, and just kind of get it where I won't get splinters and I won't cut myself or anything. And now I can complete the painting on my little watermelon wall hanging. I'm going to bring out that crimson paint, that beautiful red, and I can start painting over where the bunny was. And it takes several coats to cover, and I actually did 2 coats of every color that I'm doing and then added a little more on the red because of the fact that there was something underneath it. I'm going to do a light sanding between the 2 green color lines and right where the red meets the lighter color, just to soften it a little bit. Then I'm going to take a black permanent marker and I'm going to make my watermelon seeds. And I know I make a lot of seeds, but I just like the way it looks. I hope they're not like that when I eat them. And then I'm going to use some actually dishwasher safe Mod Podge and cover the entire thing. And I'm only doing that because some other pieces I'm making might have food, and so I figured just take it out and use it for all of them. I have this little word, weekend, that was on a little sign I got, and I had taken it off to wait for another opportunity to use it. And so I'm going to take that, I'm going to take a couple little pieces of wood that I have, and I'm going to use this to do a little bit of paper crafting. So first I'm going to put some painter's tape underneath it so it'll stay down when I paint black all over it. I want to cover that gold. And the painter's tape just works. I don't need to paint the back, just the edges, and it raises this up a little bit, so I'm very easily able to paint it black, and I'm really happy with how that turned out. Now I'll dry it off with my heat gun. You can find most of my tools down in my Amazon store, and there's a link in my description box. I'm going to take that little wood scrap that I have, and I'm going to sand the edges, and then I'm going to paint one side of it black, and then all the edges, and then most of the other side, because part of it's going to be laying flat and you won't see it. I'm going to use my tight bond glue and spread that out with a little brush over the back of the word weekend, and then I'm going to attach that right on top of the watermelon over the rind. I'm going to use some really cute scrapbook paper that has reds and greens in it, and I'm going to cut pieces. The first one is going to go right over that black one. It's actually a black kind of a swirly pattern, and I'm going to cut it just smaller than the square. And then the next piece, I'm going to do the same thing so you can see the edges and the layers. And I'm going to take my scissors and rough up the edges of the paper a little bit. And I learned this from a friend of mine. Her name is Linda at Faith Chick 777. And I'll put her link in the description box too, because she makes some amazing paper crafts you'll want to see. And so I'm just getting all those pieces ready to go. And then I'm going to use my tight bond glue, and I'm just going to attach it right on top. And you see how you can see the edges of each piece. And now I'm going to take this little watermelon cutout that I got at the Dollar Tree. I'm going to paint it with that crimson red, and then I'm going to add the fern to make a rind, and of course I'll make the little seeds again with my permanent marker. To complete the project, I'm going to position these two little pieces on the left side of my watermelon and cover the entire thing in Mod Podge.
Hey there, sorry to interrupt you watching my video, but if you don't mind, if you're enjoying yourself, could you hit that like button? I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
I really love it, you guys. I'm absolutely smitten with this piece. These pieces are inspired by some Pottery barn signs. Now they were a set of 3 and they were on clearance for $243.99. Mine were thrift shop pictures and Dollar Tree supplies, so just a few dollars here and there. And the only thing that mine have in common with the other one is that they have snowflakes. Otherwise they're totally different. I'm glamming it up a little bit. I'm painting the frames black using ink paint by Waverly, and then I'm going to use some acrylic paint on the inside and cover up what it said because it was old and kind of dingy looking. I mean, keep in mind I found these at the Goodwill. I took one of these gray and white Dollar Tree mop heads, figured out how long it needed to be to fit inside of the frame, and I started with hot glue. That did not work well, and I ended up going to wet glue and, just like white Elmer's type glue, the one from Dollar Tree, and that worked really well. Plus you could paint it on and do like 2 or 3 rows at a time, much faster, and I did not burn myself, and for that I am grateful because I've got little burn marks. Even though I use tools, I still somehow managed to touch that glue. I don't know how. I went ahead and I filled in both of them, and I have a few other crafts that I use this mop head for, so it kind of goes together like a tree that I made and something else, and it's like a little vignette type thing. So I'm going to trim the edges so that it's not sticking up too much. If you cut off the ends, it frays like crazy, so I didn't mind if a little bit came up. And then again, I took 2 different snowflake ornaments, and I did use the silver metallic paint on the clear looking one to give it much more, of that silver. And then on the white one, I used that holographic kind of glittery paint. All I was looking for was more of a shine, so when the light hits it, you would pick it up. It gets kind of muted with the gray and white mop head, but I still liked it, and I liked it with the black frame. And it looks cute with my winter decor, and that's what I was trying to create here, with some winter decor as I transition my Christmas stuff out of my house. I really like the way these 2 turned out, and I just hot glued those ornaments right on top and right in the center. This was so easy, you guys. It was done much quicker than the other ones, and I was really excited. And even though I only had 2 pieces instead of 3, I did not spend $200 and some. I'm really happy how they turned out. You'll have to let me know in the comments what you think. For this DIY, I'm going to use these 2 wooden candlesticks that I ordered on Amazon, some antique wax, and then the metallic folk art paint in silver. I'm going to use some E6000, my hot glue gun, and I found these 3 silver bowls and plates at a thrift store, really cheap, like $3 for the 2 larger pieces and only $1.99 for the smaller one that's going to go on top. And then I'm using those little ping pong balls that have the googly eyes on them from Halloween at Dollar Tree to create the feet. And I'm going to create a 3-tiered tray. So I'm going to remove the tags, and that one is super shiny, and the other ones are kind of tarnished. So I'm going to clean them all with alcohol first, see what I can remove that way. And it really doesn't get rid of the tarnish, but at least they are super clean now. I'm going to use my white paint from Folk Art, and I'm going to first paint the blue part of the googly eyes, and then I'm going to paint the whole thing, and then I'm going to use my antique wax by Waverly to go over the top and make it look like these little balls are made out of wood. That's what I'm going for here. And then I'm going to take the wooden candlesticks that I got off Amazon, and I'm just going to stain them with the antique wax. And I didn't wipe off the excess because the little feet are dark, so I thought I'd just go ahead and leave it, and I love the way it looks. These candlesticks on Amazon are such good quality. They are in my Amazon store, as are all of my tools and supplies that I can put in there. So there they are, all stained. In order to get rid of that kind of tarnish and extra shine, I'm using the silver metallic paint by Folk Art, and I'm just dabbing it all around. And it's actually doing exactly what I was hoping it would do. And I'm going to do this to all of the silver pieces because it really helps, 1, get rid of the tarnish, and then 2, dull down the shine just enough. And I'm really happy with how that turned out. Very lightly, I'm putting very little on, just dabbing it everywhere. Now that I finished doing that silver paint, I'm going to use a combination of E6000 and hot glue on my little feet, and I'm going to hot glue them like in a little square formation on that round bottom flat piece. I can't do it on the outside edges because they're a little higher and it wouldn't like hit the ground, if you will. I hadn't thought about that when I picked out this plate, but this works out just fine to put them on the very bottom, and it's actually very stable, so I'm happy with how that worked out. The next thing I'm going to do is take my candlesticks, and again using a combination of E6000 and hot glue, I'm going to attach them to the center of each of the pieces or levels of the tray, and that will actually complete the formation of the 3-tiered tray. You know, after the fact, I thought about I probably should have put something in the middle of the top one so it comes up like a little finial type thing, and I don't know why I didn't think of that. So I may go back and do that later, but I didn't end up doing it for this video, but it still came out super cute, and I am very happy with how it turned out. I hope you guys like it, and you can see just how easy it is to make this. Besides YouTube, feel free to connect with me over on Instagram, Pinterest, and Facebook. Same name, Living My Best Life with Lisa Marie. I post all kinds of stuff on there behind the scenes and just what's going on in my day-to-day life. Hope to see you there. For this DIY, I've got this frame from a thrift store, and then I've also got this little cow moo sign from Dollar General. Super cute. I took it apart, and now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to paint this frame white. I know it's already distressed and all that, but I wanted it to be a little bit whiter, and then I'm going to re-distress it. Yeah, crazy, right? But I just like the whiter look. So I'm also going to paint the center. It takes about 3 coats to cover that because I want to get rid of all the black. I used my White Kills primer for the white paint. Now that it's all painted white, I'm going to take my sanding sponge from Dollar Tree and I'm going to distress it again. Basically, it's just revealing the parts that were already sanded down, but now it's a whiter frame, so I'm really liking that. And then I've got this scrap paper from Hobby Lobby, and what I'm going to end up with is this red gingham print, and I'm just going to cut it to size by putting it inside the back where it's kind of cut out, and then I can use a blade on the front and get it down to the right exact size. Then after that's done, I'm going to put some Mod Podge down, and I'm going to go ahead and attach it right to the inside of the frame. I don't know if I mentioned it, but this is a super easy DIY. I promise you, if you can find a frame like this and some little element for the middle, you could do this so quickly. It was very fast. So now my paper's down. I took the little cow and I hot glued it down. You could add anything you want to make this match your decor, and this one is done. I love it. This DIY is actually a thrift flip. I picked up this little sign from the Goodwill. It was super cute, said something cute, but it just wasn't really my style. So I took off the tag and then I sanded off the words. And I didn't want to just cover it with paint because I'm going to use a white paint and they're darker, so I just sanded them off, used my ladybug vacuum to clean up like I always do. You know, all my tools are always down in my Amazon store. And then I'm using my Kills primer in white. I love that. I use that in place of chalk paint a lot to cover larger surfaces. And it actually is going to take a couple coats to cover this, but no problem. It's such a small little piece. You know, of course, I realized I probably should take off the hanger. So I stopped before I got to the top and I took off the little hanger, just had to untwist it. And it's just got two little holes where they put that in. And then I'm going to paint everything, including that cute little embellishment at the top, which I think is so cute. People make those like out of clay and then add them to signs, and it was kind of cool to see it was already there. So that's the first coat done. And then I'm going to use my heat gun to dry between coats. And even when you don't see me do it, I always use the heat gun in between. I'm going to do the back, and then I'm going to turn it back over and do the second coat on the front. And that way it looks very, very white, and that's what I was going for. And now I was going to try to use some painter's tape to kind of block off the edges and use my marker to paint around them. But look what happens, well, I dry it, but look what happens after I take off the tape. Nice bleed. So I ended up just making my line a little thicker. It was super easy to fix, and I just know that with a marker you really can't use even painter's tape. It just because of the wood grain, I guess it goes right underneath. So I drew my outline all the way around the front and then on the sides of the entire sign, and I just love the way that look. Gives it kind of that farmhousey type look, but I'm again still going for the cottage core, and I think that embellishment at the top really helps add that to it. Gives it a little more of the almost shabby chic, but not quite. Just finishing up the marker, and then of course that's got to dry. If you get that on your hands, oh my gosh, anything you touch is going to have that on it forever. Because I'm using a permanent marker, of course, right? And then this part wasn't too hard. I sped this up, but I actually did this very slowly so that I wouldn't get too crazy. And if I got too thick, I just kind of adjusted, you know. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some antique wax paint from Waverly, and I'm just going to distress that embellishment. I'm going to put a bunch on, and then I'm going to take a baby wipe and wipe it off, and I'll go back and forth till I get the look that I want. I just didn't want it on the white part. I have these really cool thick letters from Walmart, and I'm going to spell out the word eat. So I'm just going to take my marker and I'm going to cover over that kind of bronze color on the E, A, and T, and I will also dry that, and then I'm going to put that on the sign and center it, and it's so cute. I could see this like in an English cottage somewhere. I really could. And it was so easy. You could do this with any sign. You could add any embellishment, honestly, any lettering you want. But this reminded me almost of like the London Tube, which is their subway, and how signs would look. And I just really liked it. And once I get my letters placed, I'm just going to add the little hanger back, and that's it. It was so easy, and it turned out so adorable. Let me know what you think. I'm loving this one. For this DIY, I'm going to take this really cute tray that I got at the thrift store, and I've had it for a long time, and I actually liked the pattern when I bought it, but now I want to do something different with it. First thing I'm doing is cleaning it with some alcohol, and I keep my alcohol in that little container that you just saw a moment ago. Very easy to use, and I got it, I think, at Dollar Tree. And now I'm using the color ink from Waverly chalk paint to go ahead and paint the entire thing, and that's just going to be the first layer of paint that I use. The next layer is going to be the wax in white from Waverly, and I like it because you can still kind of see the dark color sort of peeking through, and it gives it a little bit of, you know, a distressed type look, almost a whitewash, and I really like the effect. Plus, you know, because it's a wax, it's a little bit more slippery, and it just goes on with a little bit of a shine, and I really like the way it looks, and you can even see the brush strokes, which is something else that I really like about it. I want to put something in the center of it that's decorative, and I got this home sign from the Dollar Tree. Oh, actually, I think it was Target Dollar Spot. Sorry about that. And I have this burlap kind of ribbon I got from Walmart, and I thought, you know what, I love texture, and I want to kind of mix the elements with the metal and the burlap and then the wood. So I'm just going to put this diagonally across, cut off kind of those little edges, and hot glue it inside. And then I'm going to hot glue the word home right across that. And I just think that makes it so cute, but it's simple, and I can put things in the tray and style it that way. I really love how this one turned out. It's simple, but yet it's really homey and it's interesting to me with all the different textures, and I'd love to know what you think. Would you have added the burlap, or would you have just put the word home right on the tray? Let me know. I found this piece of metal decor at the Goodwill, and it had a little burlap flower in the middle, which I didn't think was going to be great for outside, so I just popped it right off. It came off super easily. Now I decided I wanted to make a kind of a whimsical butterfly that had all different random colors on it. So I started with peacock, and then I put some crimson on there. These are Waverly chalk paint colors, and at some point I'm going to add maize, which is like a yellow, and I'm literally just randomly placing it all around the different parts of the butterfly. No rhyme or reason, just trying not to put them all right next to each other with the same color. Now the maize color didn't cover quite as well, so I did a second coat of that one because I wanted the yellow to be a little bit brighter. I was really having fun with this, just, you know, putting the colors wherever I wanted and just kind of relaxing. It was really enjoyable to do this. Painting is very relaxing. And now I'm going to take some of the metallic gold by Folklore, and I want to get some shimmer on here because remember, it's going to be outside and it really will pick up that light. So now I'm doing the gold in a bunch of different places. This did take several coats because again, it's a little thinner, and so it took me probably 3 coats wherever I put the gold to get that to really cover the original color on this butterfly. As I was painting, I realized I really didn't like the red as much as I originally thought, so I took out my ocean color, which is a very beautiful blue, and I decided to cover every area where there was red, and now I really think the colors go together better. It matches a little better with the other piece that I have for outside, and I'm really loving this look here. I'll use my heat tool to make sure that the entire thing is dried before I move on to the next step, and of course all my tools are in my Amazon store linked below. And now I'm going to take just a black marker and I'm going to do the little body. I decided that it needed a little more definition, so I'm just going to cover that part in the black, and I love the way that looks, and I'm going to dry that off too. The next thing I'm going to do is take my agave color and I'm going to just add a little bit of that in different places. I felt like I needed another shade of blue in there, and I just absolutely love it. I didn't want there to be too much of any one color, and this really takes care of that for me. And then I did little touch-ups here and there. And now I'm going to take my gold again, the metallic gold from Folklore, and I'm going to put it on a little chippy brush and dry brush it, putting a very small amount on my brush, wiping most of it off, and then dragging it across. You guys, I love this one. It looks so beautiful outside. I can't wait for you to see it. For this DIY, I'm using another piece that I got at the thrift store. It was originally from Kirkland's, and this was only $2. Cute little box. It's got a hole in the top, which I'm going to fully utilize. Start painting it with the crimson and the fern, and again the sage, to create a watermelon. So I'm going to start with the dark rind, then add a lighter strip for the other part of the rind, and then of course do the red with the seeds.
Hey friends, did you know I'm on social media? You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest under the same name, Living My Best Life with Lisa Marie, and I'd love to see you over there.
And after sanding around the edges and the sides, I'm going to cover the whole thing with Mod Podge. After that dries, I'm going to take a little wooden dowel from the Dollar Tree, and it fits perfectly in that hole right on the top. And I'm going to actually cut it down to size with my miter shears because I didn't want it quite that tall. And I'm going to paint the whole thing black, and I'm going to use it to create a little like sign coming up out of the box. So I've got this heart tag from Dollar Tree, and I had written something on it but didn't end up using it, so I just painted the center with black and went ahead and dried that, and then I painted the back too because you might be able to see that. Next, I'm going to take some scrapbook paper and I'm going to cut little hearts that are slightly smaller than this one in the little tag, and then another one that's even smaller than the first one I cut out. And I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to rough up the edges on all of them, and I'm going to attach them with glue to the top of the tag, and then do the exact same thing, of course, with the next one that's slightly smaller. And I'm just loving that layered look. It's so cute, and I just love using paper in my DIYs whenever I can. It adds such a nice look and feel to it. I'm then going to take the wooden heart and I'm going to hot glue it directly to the dowel, and so it's standing up perfectly like a little sign. I painted this little watermelon cutout from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to figure out how I'm going to attach that also to the front, and then I will hot glue it in place. I also have this other little heart cutout that I'm going to paint with the fern colored chalk paint. And then I'm going to cover that with the Mod Podge, and I'm going to use some rub-on stickers or transfers from the Dollar Tree and spell out the word fun. I cut out a really small piece of cardboard and painted it black so that I could put it behind, because there was going to be a gap there and I didn't want the little heart to fall off, so that kind of secured it right to my sign. I added a cute little love sticker from the Dollar Tree to the center of the hearts, and then I put Mod Podge over everything. Now I could have stopped right there, but I decided to make a cute little messy bow, so I just cut up a bunch of pieces of polyacrylic from the Dollar Tree in the automotive section, and then a couple of buffalo check ribbons, and then I'm just going to cinch the middle with a piece of the black polyacrylic rope, and it comes out so cute, and it's just the perfect touch. The last thing I'm going to do is use some of that black polyacrylic rope and just tie it through the hole on the heart and attach it. You guys, I love this and I hope you like it. These two really cute pieces were on their way to the Goodwill when I was able to get them for free from a friend. And I'm using the agave color of Waverly chalk paint to paint just the very top of them. And I'm going to use my little heat tool to dry them so I don't have to wait so long. Link in the description if you want one. And I'm going to use a chippy brush and my White Kills primer paint, and I'm going to kind of whitewash that, and then I'm going to make sure that the edges are nice and white because I got a little paint over on the sides by accident. Now I'm taking a nail file and I'm going to go around every hard edge around the outside. So basically there's the one at the top where the agave meets the white, there's the far edge where it would lay down, and then there's like a little middle ridge. And I'm also going to do the knob on there as well, just to make sure that it gets that kind of distressed look. I'm going to use my sanding sponge from the Dollar Tree just to go over the top where the agave and the whitewash were, just to smooth it out a little bit. And then I'm going to take this polyacrylic varnish by Minwax, and I'm going to go ahead and just cover the top, the sides, and the knob. I have these little napkin rings from the Dollar Tree, and it comes 6 in a pack, and I'm going to use 2 for each of these, we'll call them sconces, and I'm going to hot glue 2 together and kind of line up the seams on them so that it becomes a little bit longer. I'm going to do that for both of these, and then what I'm going to do is use that almost like a little flower vase. And I've got these flowers from Dollar Tree. I'm going to push the leaves up and then use my tin snips to go ahead and just cut off little pieces. I like it better when I can kind of decide the size of them, and I'm just going to arrange them. I have 2 different kinds, like a baby's breath and a little white flower, and I put them together. I'm going to make 2 little bouquets, one for each of those little vase things that I made. I have this really cute ribbon with kind of a swirly design on it, white and like almost like a gray, and I got that at Walmart. And I'm going to wrap it around the bottom of the bouquet, and then I'm going to also hot glue at the end when I'm all done. And I'm going to just do that too. I didn't want to use twine on this one because it's a little bit more modern farmhouse and it's got the silver, and I just thought this looked better. And then I'm going to take my tin snips when I'm done, and I'm going to snip the very ends of the little stems because they hang out just a little bit and I didn't want to see those. They are such a handy tool. I will also leave a link for those in my description box. Next, I'm going to put some hot glue on the side of the little vase, and I'm going to hot glue it right to the sconce. And then I'm going to take my flowers and I'm going to hot glue the very bottom to the inside of the little vase, and just make sure it's sticking nice, and add any hot glue where I might need it to secure that. And then I put a little under the flowers as well. I really loved how this turned out with the color and everything. I hope you guys like it too. Do you love mega videos? Check out the link in my description box for a playlist of just that. For my next DIY, I found these really cool looking sconces, and they are bright gold, which is not what I want. So I'm going to go ahead and use my little alcohol thing and clean them off because they've been sitting around for a long time. I got them at a Goodwill. I don't even know how long ago it was now, but I'm finally going to do something with them. Now, I don't know if I'm going to put them up like sconces or let them sit down. I saw the Latina next door do that, and I'll link the video where she did that down below, but it is so cool. So I'm going to go ahead and go in that direction at least for now. So they'll end up sitting just the way you see them right now once they're done. I am using this Kills all-purpose primer in white, and it's really good if you're going to want to do like any kind of an antiquing technique because it covers, but you can put it on lighter. So as you notice, I'm not like going for full saturation here. I'm just going ahead and painting it and letting the strokes show, and even kind of sloppy, but trying to get it in all the little nooks and crannies and make sure that I did cover all of it, including the bottom, which I almost forgot to do. You'll see here in a minute. Now I'm going to take my Antique Wax by Waverly and I'm going to dry brush it all around the entire sconce. That means I'm putting a little bit on my brush, dabbing some off, and then going on lightly. And what I'm trying to do is create this very antique kind of a look. There's going to be one more layer after this, but this is the middle layer. So first was the primer, and now is this Antique Wax, and then next you'll see I'm going to add a different wax on top. I'm loving how this is turning out, and I'm just kind of dabbing it all around and getting in all the little deeper parts, especially where it looks like there's an edge or a little point, you know, where it would collect more of the dirt or whatever. That's what I'm trying to do. And now for the last layer, I'm going to use the white Waverly Wax, and I'm just going to lighten it up and give it a kind of that blonde distressed wood look, and I just love it. It just turned out so good. I have never done this particular technique before, and I'm just really happy with how it turned out. You'll definitely have to let me know what you think. And right about here is when I realized I had not painted the bottom yet. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. I am so happy with how this turned out. I love it. I hope you guys love it too.
Little tray that I found is from Holland or the Netherlands, and it's got that blue and white tile. There's 4 pieces of tile in the front, and then it's got a wood, you know, base. And I'm going to clean it with some rubbing alcohol because of course, you know, it gets dirty sitting in thrift stores. And then I've got these peel and stick tiles from the Dollar Tree, and I just think they're gorgeous. So I'm going to start off by centering a solid one right in, you know, the middle, and then I will try to piece the rest together around that. I think that is the easiest way to do it. It's not like a floor where I want to start in the corner. I want this to have a centerpiece, if you will. And I'm going to get some more of those tile pieces, and I'm going to figure out the best way to attach them. The hardest part was getting it flush up against the edge. A couple times I got it right there, and a couple times there was a gap. So you'll see in a little bit how I try to deal with that gap. But I think it came out good, and so I'm not going to worry too much about that little teeny gap. I'm going to go ahead and just continue piecing it so that the lines are all, you know, where they're supposed to line up. Now, when I'm all done with these pieces, I end up with 4 little corners left. That's where it gets tricky because it turns out I only have 3 pieces that fit in those corners, so I kind of had to wing it on the last one, but I think I figured out a way to camouflage it. So you'll have to let me know if you think that that worked. So you see how I got the corner there, and I'm going to stick it in. And like I said, I've got 3 of those, and I'm using a blade to just kind of cut all the way up to the edge. And sometimes I do a good job of that, and sometimes I don't, and I don't know why that is. And like there, I had a big gap, so I was able to cut another piece on that one, but it wasn't as easy to do on the other ones. And then when I get to the very fourth little corner, I didn't have a piece like that. So I found one that looked the most similar. You see how it's not the same? But it's not like horribly wrong. Anyway, I came up with a solution. I'm going to use an Arteza silver marker and try to go around those edges where I didn't quite line it up flush to the wood edge. And it never really gets it the way I want it. So then I am going to try with some steel Waverly chalk paint. And so I go ahead and I do that, but then you see the line. So then I got out my chippy brush and I thought, you know what? I don't want this to be quite this shiny anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to dry brush over the whole thing. But first I'm going to paint the wood base all in that steel color. I love that color and I think it'll match really well. Not too fond of that shade of wood that it was. So as I'm doing this, it took about 2 coats. And then I also took a little bit of the silver metallic folklore paint and I just very lightly dry brushed that over the gray on the handles and the base. And now I'm doing the steel over the top of the tiles, and that gets rid of some of the shine and it helps camouflage some of those edges that I filled in. I'm going to do that also with the silver on all of the wood and the center. And then because I still see that gray, I will come back in with some of my white paint and just very lightly dry brushed around the entire thing. And that way it really camouflages it. And so I feel like once I hit it with the white, you know, and then I was getting it on the wood, so I thought, ooh, I kind of like that. So I very lightly dry brushed. And you guys know dry brushing is you put very little on your brush, wipe most of it off, and then drag it across your surface. That way you can control just how much is on there. I am loving how this turned out. I really do think it came out really nice. And I did put Mod Podge all over it. And you will see it in the final reveal what it looks like when it's all dry. But I'm very happy with how it turned out, and I hope you guys like it. For this DIY, I'm using an item that I found at a thrift store for $3, and it's just a block, kind of a sign with velvet on the back, and then on the front is this sort of distressed floral picture, and that actually might be considered shabby chic just by itself. I cleaned it off with some alcohol, and then I decided I'm going to use some scrapbook paper to embellish it and start the beginning of my shabby chic process. So I used my little cutter and I figured out the right size to put this piece on the top. I'm using Mod Podge to attach it. And I tend to like to put a little bit on and then attach it one side at a time. And I'm using my brayer to push it down. If this had been something really thin, I would have also probably used saran wrap and then used my brayer over that. But this is a very nice thick piece of scrapbook paper, so it doesn't really require that. It's not going to bubble like you might think. A trick you can do is spray it down with a little bit of water first before you lay it down, and that helps to get rid of any of the bubbles or wrinkles. I didn't need that on this one, so that's why I didn't do it. Next, I'm going to take one of these doilies. It's kind of the middle-sized one, and it fits perfectly right on top of this block. And I'm going to cut out the center, and then you see I just have the outsides of the lace on the doily, and I'm going to Mod Podge that down as well. I'm also going to add a layer of Mod Podge over the top. Dollar Tree has such cute decals. So this one says always be joyful, and I'm going to cut it apart so each word is separate, but I just love it, and it's got that really cool font and the gold and blacks. I think it'll look really nice on this. And I'm going to take off the decal. I'm going to place them right on top of this little sign, and so it's going to say always at the top, be in the middle, and then joyful on the bottom. And I just love that. I'm also going to add some Mod Podge over the top of each of the decals to make sure that it's not going anywhere. And since this represents a scripture, which there was a reference for, it's Thessalonians 5:16, I want to make sure I put that on there so people know that it is directly from the Word of God, and that this is what He wants for us, to always be joyful, no matter what our circumstances, no matter what's going on. Now I'm taking my little nail file, and you can use a little sanding block for this also, and I'm going around the edges and making sure I get rid of all the excess. And you only do this when it's dry. And then I'm going to take a little bit of white paint, and I'm going to paint all the way around. And I think I'm using the white Waverly chalk paint for this one. I have these cute little flowers from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to take them and I'm going to use a little bit of Apple Barrel's paint called Warm Buff. It's like a beige. And I'm just going to tone them down, because they're so bright. And I think for this piece, I just want it to be slightly more muted, the color, especially that yellow in the center. That's actually what I do first. And then I do go back and do a little bit more over all the flowers. And these little balls that I got from the floral section also, you'll see me add those. And I just love that kind of softer feel that it gives it. Again, I love the pink, but for this shabby chic, I just wanted to be a little more soft and feminine. I'm also going to take some little leaves that came off of a pick. I'm going to cut them apart and just randomly place them near the flowers here and there. I just thought that would be fun. And then the ones that are by themselves, I'm going to add those little round pink balls that you'll see in a minute right over the top. And I just like that little touch of green. I think that's very pretty, and I think it really adds to the look. One thing that I was thinking is, with the sheet music I have in the background and then always be joyful, it makes me think about that song, I've got that joy, joy, joy down in my heart. So it kind of reminds me of that. And that's kind of the message I think I was trying to put across here. I guess think of it this way. It costs nothing to have joy in your heart and spread joy. I mean, that's so much better than spreading negativity and complaining, don't you think? At least I do. At this point, I'm going to take that Warm Buff color by Apple Barrel, and I am just literally going to go over all of the flowers and the balls and just tone it down just a bit. Doesn't that just add such a nice shabby chic feel? I really like that. And again, I have nothing against the bright pink. I'm all over it. I love it. But for this piece, I think this is the look that it really needed to have. Plus, it gives it a little bit of an older, worn look without actually distressing it officially. I really enjoyed making this one, and I think it came out really nice. I hope you guys like it. This DIY is another item I got at the thrift store. It's kind of just like this little cardboard kind of oval shaped box. It was $2. It's so cute with the apples, and I love the colors. They're similar to the colors I'm going to use, but I'm going with the watermelon theme here, so I needed to change it. So I'm using the color Fern again, the color Crimson and Sage to go ahead and paint this. I'm going to kind of treat the top and the bottom almost as separate pieces, but make it so they can fit together. That way they could stand alone. And I'm just starting to paint the rind, and I'm going to change the design. It's not going to be that little checkerboard. I'm going to make it more into actually like stripes. Although I did stripes on the top piece, on the bottom I'm going to actually do them more horizontally so that it looks kind of like a typical watermelon rind. I'm just going to continue painting the colors of the watermelon, and then I'm going to add the seeds and cover everything in Mod Podge. I'm going to smooth the lines by sanding them. I'm using the dishwasher safe Mod Podge on the inside to make sure that this is safe if I want to put some food in it. I had this little plastic handle that was left over from something, I'm not even sure what it was, and it's got these two little points on the end so you can poke holes in the top of this little container, and I can attach them and then secure them with some hot glue. So I'm just measuring so that the holes are even from each side, and I'm going to use my little pokey tool from the Dollar Tree and just kind of make those holes big enough and push those ends right in there and then secure it with hot glue, and it just works perfectly as a little handle. And I love how this one turned out. I hope you love it too. It's just adorable. I found this cute little, I don't know what exactly it is, a little drawer with maybe it's a pencil holder or something like that for a desk. They look like little fake books, but I found this at a thrift store and I thought I could do something cute with this. And I'm kind of going to go with the same color scheme as I did before. I'm going to prime it with my Kills white primer. I went ahead and I just did a light coat of that, and I'm going to use that agave paint by Waverly. I'm going to cover the entire drawer and the little pencil holder. The only thing I'm not going to do is the knob. Once they're all painted, I'm going to take my metallic silver from Folklore Paints, and I am going to just paint that little knob. I'm going to take that white Kills primer that I had, and I'm going to do a little bit of whitewashing, kind of distressing like I did on the last piece, because I want them to have a cohesive look. And it's like a dry brush. I'm just putting a teeny bit on my brush, wiping most of it off, and then lightly dragging it across until I get the look that I want. And really there's no right or wrong way. You can do this until it's exactly to your liking. That's the beauty of crafting. You get to do what you want. I wanted this piece to have just a teeny bit of shine, so I took that metallic silver and I kind of dry brushed it all around. You know, nothing heavy, but I just wanted to give it a little extra pizzazz. I'm going to take these white flowers and white baby's breath from the Dollar Tree and a part of a foam ball that I had used, and I'm going to cut it so that it will fit inside of what the pencil holder would be, because I want this to become a vase. So I'm going to stick that in there, and then I'm just going to cut the flowers, push the leaves up, and arrange them just, you know, the way that I like them, and using the tin snip to cut them to the right lengths. I have these little silver like Mardi Gras beads that I got at the Dollar Tree, and I decided that instead of filling it with moss or anything else, I'm just going to fill it with these silver beads, and I think it just looks really cute, kind of goes together with everything else, and just gives it a little bit more of that modern look, but still farmhouse. I am super happy with the way this is turning out. I'd love to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments if this is something that you like. This cute little stand at the thrift store for $1, and it might have come from Dollar Tree originally, but it's just so cute. And I'm removing some of the hardware that I can remove, and then I'm going to try to sand down where that clip was and also where the words are, so it'll be easier to cover them. I'm going to clean up the dust with my ladybug vacuum, and then I'm going to use some wood filler to fill in where the little holes were from that clip that was there. And then I'll sand that down. I'm going to use my truffle colored chalk paint from Waverly, and I'm going to cover the entire sign front and back, including the little sawtooth hanger, because there's just no reason not to paint it too, because I can't get it off. And then After I do the back, I'm going to do the front, and I do 2 coats to get this really covered nicely the way that I want it. I'm using these little foam dice from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to cut a piece about maybe 1/2 of an inch thick. And I'm using just a little blade, and I just go around and around until I get to the middle, and then it just eventually cuts right off. And I'm going to use my White Kills primer to cover the whole front, sides, and a little bit of the back. And once the primer is dry, I'm going to use this Folk Art Cottage White chalk paint, and that's the color that I'm going to make it. And there's going to be 2 of them, and they're meant to be little marshmallows. I'm going to cover them in Mod Podge to seal them and make sure that they are a nice smooth surface. I designed a cute little saying with my Cricut Joy, and it's going to say, "Love you s'more." You guys, isn't that adorable? I saw that on Pinterest and I just had to do it. And I just picked my font and sized my lettering after I measured where it was going to go, and I am now transferring it to my cute little stand. You know, you could use stickers, you could handwrite it, or you could print something out and then trace it on. Even if you don't have a Cricut, this would be easy to do. And then I'm going to take my black marker and I'm going to make cute little faces on my marshmallows. Oh my gosh, you guys, these are so adorable. Now all that's left to do is hot glue the marshmallows right to my little sign. And I love this because you can hang it or you can use the little stand. Isn't it adorable? One last thing I did decide to do, I'm going to go ahead and use that white chalk paint again, and I'm going to take a makeup sponge and I'm just going to sponge around the edges. I just think it looks like a little more framed and finished that way, and it was super easy to do. And when I think of s'mores, I think of fun fall nights. This one was actually very easy to do, and I absolutely love it. I hope you guys do too. Thank you so much for watching. I'm so happy that you were here, and I can't wait to see you in my next video. I appreciate the time that you take to watch my videos. It means so much. And remember, you are a blessing to me.